Okay, this lesson we're learning dependency. For everyone that needs. We're going to start the beginning of the third parak. That's on Zion and Beis. It's good. The sound is good. Do you hear me? Okay. So the Mishnah starts on halakha aleph. The Mishnah says, three times a year, they would enter into the chamber that they had all of the funds collected, and they would do a truma. They would take coins out from it. So it's a whole event. They were letting everyone know that the funds are being used for the community sacrifices. When were these times? The price of Pesach. Price is going to be translated in the Gemara as half. And it doesn't mean half of Pesach. It means half a month before Pesach. Because 30 days before Pesach, you have to study the laws of the holidays. So half a month before that would be Rosh Chodesh, or the 29th or whatever. Pesach Teres, half a month before Shavuot. This is a little off because it's not in the middle of the month. It's on the 6th or the 7th. Yeah, the Pesach Chag, half a month before Sukkot.
So what's the terminology of
It means they would enter into the room. The Lishka is the room where they kept all the money. And they would enter in. We're going to see how they did it. And they would take out some of the coins to start spending.
Because the says that
Kol Shekalim. All the Shekalim were there, and they would take Truma out. Right? Yeah. Tarmin means that they take the Truma. Right? Like Shekalim means that they give the coins. Tarmin means they take out. Veheim, Granish Shemaister Behema. These times are also the Goren. I'm not sure why it's called Goren, but it means it's the times when the Maister Behema, the tithing of the animals should be done. See, they don't want you just to leave your animals untithed forever. Yeah, I'll do it later. But no, at this point, it needs to be done, and you can't use your animals until it's done. So, the Rabbi Akiva. This is the word to Rabbi Akiva. So those three periods are also, besides for the terminus Lishka, they're also the same times that are used for Meiser Behema. Okay. Ben Azai says, Be'esem v'tisha ba'adar, be'echad b'sivan, be'esem v'tisha ba'av. He's giving us calendar dates for two of them, well, for all three of them. But two of them, it's very similar to the first opinion. It's approximately 15 days before, right? However, the Echad B'Sivan is just 6 days before, 5 days before. Reb Leizer Reb Shimon Aimer, B'Echad B'Nisan, B'Echad B'Sivan, B'Chav Tes Be'elul. Rabbi Eliezer and Reb Shimon, or it's probably Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon, they say that it's the first of Nisan. So they're 1 day off from Ben Azai, right? Ben Azai said it's the 29th of Adar. They say no, it's the first of Nisan. Echad B'Sivan, the same as Ben Azai. And B'Chav Tes Be'elul is 1 day off. That's strange, right? I'm sorry. Ben Azai was a whole month off. He was the 29th of Av. That's the strange one, right? It's not half a month before Sukkot. It's a month and a half before Sukkot, according to Ben Azai. And here it's just 15 days, a half a month before Sukkot. That's a little odd because the other ones, they said the first of the month. Here they said the end of the month. They say Mipnei Yom Tov. The first of Tishrei happens to be Rosh Hashanah. it would be impossible to take Meiser on Yom Tov if you're not allowed to fix anything on Yom Tov. So therefore, they said that it's on the 29th of El. We have to establish what exactly are the machlekes and what's going on over here. Amar Rabavo, the Gemara says, Rabavo says, Kol Hein Tanin and Pras, wherever we use the word Pras, Palga, it means half. Pras means half. Like Achilas Pras means half a loaf of bread. Pras means half. Palga de Lamed Yain Kaidem Lamayat Shadarshim Behel Chaysav. It's half of the 30 days that are before the holiday when we teach the laws of the holiday. Yeah. On the holiday itself, we're supposed to learn the laws as well, but I think on the holiday it's more the story.
One is before Pesach, one is before work.
One is before Sukkot. You want a Gemara? Yeah. Okay. These are the times when the tithing needs to be taken. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mitnei Perki Leida. Tell me, what's the problem? Granis are now the next phrase in the Mishnah. Said that the first phrase was there's 3 times that they separate the truma from the lishka. It means they start using the coins. And now they says one more thing. We also use these times to tell me something else. These are the times when the tithing of the animals needs to be done. They would put all the animals into a pen and they would walk them through a hole in the fence. To go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, these are the times when it needed to be done. If it wasn't done, the animals couldn't be eaten until it was done. Well, I don't know if it means you had to wait for the next one. It means the animals born in between the next one needed to be done separately, or needed to be done again. All the new animals need to be born. So it comes along Rabbi Yochanan, says, what's going on over here? These are the times that the animals give birth. They're like seasons of the animals giving birth. How does it work? Well, the ones that are born early, or the ones that conceived early probably, they would give birth right away before Pesach. The ones that were later would be before Shavuos. The ones that were later would be before Sukkot. The gestation period was 5 months, right? For the smaller animals. Other animals were 9 months, but the smaller animals were 5 months. The Rachav Rav Tanchum Bar Chia b'Shem Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Kadei Shetia Behema Mitzuya Loyle Regalim. He says that the reason here is they say you can't use your animals until 15 days before the holiday. That means that when people are starting to get themselves ready to go to the Beis Hamikdash, none of the animals have been used yet. So all the new animals are available. If they would tell you that you're allowed to eat your animals before then, so then it's possible that they say, I really wanted to get animals, but there were none available. They were making parties. My whole town was busy shechting all the new animals, and it was barbecuing, No, they weren't allowed to do that. All the animals were available until everyone was getting their suitcases ready to go. They say, okay, now we have animals available, so we take them. Amar Rav Yudin shlayavil de baltacha. Rav Yudin says that there's an issue of baltacha. If someone makes a pledge that he's going to bring something to the temple, he's not allowed to delay it for more than 3 holidays. So if he's gonna bring a sacrifice. Rav Yudin says, well, yeah, I forget if it's automatically 3 regalim from whenever he starts, or if it started already and it ends at Pesach or something. It could be there's different opinions about it. Now, so Amar Rabbi Yosi Kalamasha Tiblev Baltacha. Rabbi Yosi says that anyone that leaves his tithing also violates Baltacha. So what's happening over here? You shall not delay. Okay, so What's he explaining? That we wanted to have the time of the tithing close to the time of going up to the temple, so that people should take their animals and not violate Baltacha. Either they should be available, or so that people don't violate the rule of delaying their sacrifices. Okay, Taman Taninan. It was taught over there. Rabbi Meir Eimer. See it on the top? Rabbi Meir says, Be'echad be'elul Rosh Hashanah l'maiser behema. There's a Rosh Hashanah, there's a New Year for Maiser behema. Now, what it means in New Year means that the tithing is not done together. It's like tax, right? January 1st, I guess, would be your income from January 1st. The end of December. It's a new year. So for the Meiser also, it's a new year. You don't combine together. If I have 5 animals from last year and I have another 5 animals from this year, so I say, okay, let me take one of them as Meiser. It doesn't work like that. Those 5 are exempt because you didn't have 10, and these 5 are exempt because you don't have 10. So, what's the cutoff point? The Rabbi Meir says it's the first of El. Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Echad b'Tishrei. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say it's the first of Tishrei. Ben Azai Yomer ha'elulam misashrim b'fnei atzman. Ben Azai says that Elul is sort of in limbo. It's in the middle. So therefore, the cutoff point for everything that was born during the year is until the end of Av. The beginning point for the new year is the beginning of Tishrei. In between the end of Av and the first of Tishrei is 1 month. All of that, we don't know if it goes with the previous year, if it goes with the new year. So those have to be tied independently, separately from. Now, if you look back at the Mishnah, this clarifies what was going on in the Mishnah. We're looking at the times. So Ben Azai said, Chaftas be'esrim v'tisha b'av in Ben Azai. The 29th of Av would be the time for Ma'aser behema. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say the 29th of Elul. So Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon would be saying that's the first of Tishrei, is the new year, right? And Ben Azai says that it's Ben Azai isn't sure, but whatever the case is, it needs to be the 29th of Av. Okay. Amar Rav Huna, or Amar Rav Huna, time of the Rav Meir. What's the reason for Rav Meir that says that it's the Rosh Hashanah is the first of Elul? We're talking about the animals. It says Ad kan him esmatzis leilid min hayeshanis, mekan ve'elchem askilas leilid min hachadashis. He says the esmatzis sounds like squeezed out. It says this is as long as the last of the pregnancies are going to end. So this is everyone has given birth by then. Anyone that any of the animals that conceived before Nisan have given birth by now. Rabbi Yosi bar Rabbun b'shem Rav Huna or Chuna Taima de Rabbi Elazar bar Shimon. What's the reason for Rabbi Elazar bar Shimon? Labshu karam atzayin. The sheep are dressed. What is karim? It's got to be 2 pshat in there. Simple pshat in meadows. Yeah. So the sheep are dressed in the meadows. Let's see what the Gemara translates this says. Elu abachiris. These are the ones that gave birth first. In other words, they conceived in Adar. Ba'makim yatvu bar. In the valleys are dressed in grain. Elu afelas. These are the ones that come late. Felas for the late ones. Yisrael af yashiru. They rejoice and they even sing. Elu velo nechnasim l'dir le'sasha. The way the Gemara learns this is Lakshu Karim Hatzain. I think it means that the sheep are mating. Those are the first to mate. Makim Yatvu Bar. Atifa means that they were dressed. That means they delayed in their mating. However, Yisrael, they become friends. Af Yashiro and their Meiser is taken together. In other words, instead of they rejoice and they sing, Yisrael means to rejoice. Yashiro means to sing. The Gemara is learning at Yisrael, they become Re'im, they become friends in the pen. They get put into the pen together. Af Yashiro, and even the Meiser is taken together. The word Yashiro is now being used as Meiser. You throw an ayin in there. Okay, this is the reason for Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon that they say, Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon, they say that the early ones and the late ones go together for Meiser. Amar ben Azai. Is that what you're supposed to say about it? I guess so. Since these fellas say one thing, and these fellas say this other thing, so we should have Elul being on its own. The Meiser for the month of Elul, those animals that are born Elul are separate. Okay, so how does this work out? It says Neiloi beheba of. What's heba of? If it's the sheep are born on Hay of, and then you have others that are born Hay Elul on the 5th of Elul, and then Hay B'Tishrei. Okay, so there's 3 months. 3 months. Each one is a month apart. Ein mitzdarfen. They don't combine. Why? Because Elul is separated from Av, and Av is separated from Tishrei because of the different Rosh Hashanahs, and we don't know which one is the main one. However, yeah, the Ben Azai is looking at both opinions of when Rosh Hashanah is for Ma'aseh Behema. One of them is the beginning of Elul, one of them is the beginning of Tishrei. So therefore, you can't combine the ones from Av with Elul and the ones from Elul with Tishrei because of the two lines that separate them, 2 dates. However, if there's an animal that's born on the 5th of Tishrei, that means the beginning of the year, right after Rosh Hashanah. And then there's another animal that's born on Hay B'Av, right? That 10 months later, 11 months later. Harei Elam Mitzdarfen, that will combine because there was no Rosh Hashanah in the middle. Talking about Tishrei first and Elul after. The last case was we're talking about it was born in right. Yeah. Ben Azai Machriya al Divrei Talmida Vasa. I have a question. The Gemara here is a little surprised. Where it says usually the teacher hears 2 opinions from his students and he thinks into it and he decides which one's correct. He says, yeah, I think that you're correct. Here, I guess the main point here is that Ben Azai is a teacher or is older than Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon and Reb Meir. He's a friend of Rabbi Akiva. He's their teacher. So he's saying, because these students said this and these students said this, we'll have to follow both. Really? He has to follow the opinion of the students? Let him determine which one is correct. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the other way. Reb Yirmiyah v'Reb Meisha b'Shem Reb Shmuel b'Reb Yitzchak shkei mechleko le'avos olam. Says, I know that they're discussing this, but really this machlekes is much earlier. And when he says Elu Oimrim Kach ve'Elu Oimrim Kach, he's not referring to the students, which is Reb Meir, Reb Shimon, Reb Elazar, referring to much earlier machlekes. What's the earlier machlekes? Mind you, avos olam, who are the fathers of the world that argue about this? Tana Reb Yaina, Kami Reb Yirmiyah, Reb Yishmael, Reb Akiva. It's the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Okay, so based on this, he's saying because Rabbi Shmuel says this and Rabbi Akiva says that, so he doesn't want to interfere. He says we have to follow both. Zoyse Meres, this tells us Ben Azai Chaver v'Talmud Hayid Rabbi Akiva. Usually it's we have the term the other way. Talmud Chaver. Yeah, it's Chaver v'Talmud. He must have been a friend and a student. In Tema Rabbi, if you say that he's a teacher, it's like in Tema Rabbi, if you say he's a teacher, would a student tell his teacher, well, you say this, but I know there's someone else that says that, so we're not going to be able to follow you, teacher. Right? That wouldn't fit properly. So it must be that he can't be a teacher either. It can't be that Rabbi Akiva is the teacher, because he would never tell his teacher that I'm not sure if I'm going to follow you because there's another opinion. So it must be that he's a chaver as well. Reb Avon b'shem Reb Shmuel bar Yitzchak Shamalei min Ada. Reb Avon, in the name of Shmuel bar Yitzchak, he says from here, Amalei ben Azai ala chalukan anu mitzdarin el shabas lachlik leinu as hashavin. I forget what this was about. It's about a machlekes b'Shamai and Beis Hillel. And they agreed. I forget what the case was, but they agreed. Let me see if we bring it down. There was a machlekes b'Shamai and Beis Hillel, and they agreed to a certain case. And comes along Rabbi Akiva, and he argues with what they agreed to. So Ben Azai says we have enough trouble with what Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai argue about. Now you come along, and when things start to get fixed up, when they start to agree, you come along and you argue on them now, as well. So the expression is, on their machlekes and we're suffering. And now you're coming to add another machlekes to what they agreed to? Now, who could say this? They say, Meres, Ben Azai, Chaver, B'Talmud, Havle, Rabbi Akiva. Obviously, he has to be a friend and a student. It can't be just a student, because he would never tell that to a teacher. That, what are you doing? You're messing us up. In Tamer Rabbi, if you say he's a teacher, it's Barnasham Rabbi. El Shabbos Lachal Galeno as a Shavin, that you're coming to make machlekes in the things that everyone agrees to. You can't say that to a teacher. That must be that he's a friend and a student. It must be that Ben Azai is a friend and a student of Rabbi Akiva. Yeah, our expression is Talmud Chaver. And this is like, usually we say like northeast, there's something northeast, there's southeast, southwest. But the way that it doesn't count, you never say like west north. It's like one, men and women, women and men. Just the expression goes against the way we're used to. All right. Taman Taninan. It was taught over there. Kol Nolden me'echad b'tishrei ad chavtas be'elul reilam mitzdarfen. Okay, everything that's born in 1 year from the 1st of Tishrei until the 29th of Elul, that's a whole year. That joins together. Chamisha lifnei Rosh Hashanah ve'hila achar Rosh Hashanah. 5 were born before Rosh Hashanah and 5 after Rosh Hashanah. In mitzdarfen, it doesn't combine. Lifnei agarin ve'hila achar agarin. What about they put in these times when you have to pay up? April 15th. That's not the good. How did they end up with April? Well, why they choose that? I don't know. In the secular calendar, Pesach probably is March, and then it would go like this. For what? So they gave it. But if you do March, April, May, June, July, August, September becomes 7, October is 8, November, I don't know what November is, but December is 10. Right, so it worked. If Rosh Hashanah, if you follow the months of the year, like Nisan would be the first, and then the secular calendar would work out from March. But at least the September, October, November, December is 10. Otherwise, I don't have a clue what's going on. But definitely the numbers don't match for January. Okay, so what about before the Gairan, before the April 15th, before the time that you had to take it? So it says Harei Mitzdarfen. That's not a cutoff point of birth. That's a cutoff point of when you're allowed to, when you have to separate the Meiser. Amar Rab Yesi, Adar Amrit, this tells us, Meiser Behema, Lo Yosu Meiser Leike Chenet V'Leike Shalish. He's making comparisons here. How do I take Meiser from fruits and vegetables and grain? So, when it comes to fruits, it goes from the time when it begins to bud. And maybe when the flower falls off. When the flower falls off. I think that's the first, after the blossom. After the chenet is like when you see the fruit, I think, at the beginning. That's when it becomes chayiv and meiser. It becomes chayiv and so, in other words, like this. If the bud before Tu B'Shvat, so then it goes to that year. If the bud was after Tu B'Shvat, then it's the new year. There's no Tu B'Shvat for the trees. When it comes to grain, I don't look at, there's no bud and grain. Whatever. It goes by once it grew a third. So I guess the third of the height of the grain would grow up till this height. Once a third of that crop was considered grew a third, that's considered when it's chayiv and meiser, because grain they would actually harvest early. They would cut it down early. They would use it for straw, and then they would let it grow again. Right? Spastas. Anyway, what are we doing over here with meiser behema? We're not doing it from the time then it buds. I guess that would be when it's ready to be. Let's see. In Taimach Kechenet, if you would say from the time of the bud, that means the animals with conception and birth. Listen, it should say anything that conceived. It's the beginning of the fruit, comparing like the conception to the budding of the fruit, pollination. So we don't do that. In Tamer Kishalish, but if you say that it grew a third, listen to Kolam Nolder Madasun Vishnayim Be'elol. What's going on over here? The karbanas have to be 8 days old before they're brought. Once it's a third, the grain being a third means that you're able to already use it for some purposes, for animal food or whatever. They would cut it down, they would harvest it early, and then it would grow back stronger. Once you're already using it, so if we would say that from the time the animal could be brought as a sacrifice, that's the cutoff date. So when would be the last time an animal is born that it could be brought as a sacrifice during this year? Not the last day of the year. It would need to be 7 days before the last day of the year, because the animal needs to be 7 days old and before it's brought as a korban. 8 days. It can only be brought as a korban on the same day. So we shouldn't have made the cutoff point when it's born until the 29th of Elul. It should have been the 22nd of Elul, because it still has to reach its maturity enough to be able to be brought as a sacrifice. So Rab Shammai b'shem Rabbi Bivi b'Rab Chia kishalash asuaisa. Actually, it's not true. Really, it's already ready at we're actually following this the way that we follow the grain. In other words, animals and grain are going to be put into the same status. It's ready to be brought as a sacrifice once it's born. Only thing is, but they also say just because it has to wait 7 days before you bring it as a sacrifice, that doesn't mean that it can't go into the pan. We'll take Meiser, and I'll wait 7 days for it to be. It doesn't need to be 8 days old to separate it as the carbon. Before I bring it, it has to be 8 days old. So in other words, animals, even if they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days old, are still in this pan, and they're going to walk through. They can walk after an hour. They're going to walk through that break in the fence, the hole in the fence. They're going to walk through, and we'll put the symbol on it if it's going to be the 10th one. And then you have to wait. So in other words, the sacrifice is going to be brought on the 7th of Tishrei, right? But so what? Sacrifice will be brought on the 7th of Tishrei. But the time of what it was chayiv in was the previous year. Come Reb Mana im Reb Shammai. Reb Mana stands up, I guess, and is discussing this with Reb Shammai that just put this claim in. You say one thing. However, Taman Taninan, but it was taught somewhere else. What about Ben Azai? Ben Azai only has 1 month. He instead of having a year of when the animals are born that they're all chayiv and meiser for that year, Ben Azai has 11 months. Then he has a single month. Now, in that single month, how do you want to view it? Do you want to view it that anything that's born in that month from the beginning till the end has its own status? Or do you want to view it as anything that's born in the beginning of the month, anything that's born in that month until the 22nd of the month? How do you want to view it? So he would like to view it not like Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon has this interesting opinion. He says that we're not really following the birth, the way we just explained it. We're not really following the birth. We're really following when it's fit to be brought as a carbon. The only thing is that we bring it in even though it still has to wait. So when it comes to Ben Azai, we don't want to say that. We want to not to follow Reb Shimon's opinion. We want to follow the rabbi's opinion. And the rabbis say that no, you only bring it in once it's ready. Now, what does ready mean? So if you're following when it's fit to be a carbon, then it would have to be stop at the 22nd. If you follow the birth, then it would be the birth. Reb Shimon is not following birth. Reb Shimon is following when it's fit to be a carbon. But nevertheless, he considers it fit to be a carbon, even though you have to wait 7 days. So, and we don't want Ben Azai to have to follow Reb Shimon. We want Ben Azai to follow the general opinion, which is the rabbi's opinion. So we say, Islach Meima Ben Azai Reb Shimon v'leik Rabbanan. Do we say that Ben Azai is following Reb Shimon, not the Rabbanan? Kamada Tama al the Rabbanan menichin l'shana abba v'hin mesashim b'nei shatan. Kenat Tama al the Ben Azai menichin l'garan abba v'hin mesashim b'nei alulim. The same way we say for the Rabbanan, that you leave it for the following year, and it will be tithed together with its year. So we should say with Ben Azai, that you leave it for the following year. It's a little odd. I'm not sure why we had no problem saying that everyone else's opinion fit with Reb Shimon, and all of a sudden with Ben Azai we don't want to fit with Reb Shimon. Why was it? Reb Shimon is a single opinion, isn't it? I get it. But why by Ben Azai did we have more of an issue than? We don't want him to follow the Reb Shimon. Okay, so Amar Reb Chia Zaysimer Reb Chia tells us Yom Shabachar Chosazman Behem Oilun Loylatech Shanase. If a bechar, firstborn animal, is not eligible to be brought, why? It's called Mechusazman. It's within the first 8 days. That still counts. Amar Rab Mana Amar Rab Yaina from Rabbi Yonah. Abba shabalei min adaf. This means my father understood it from this. Kol b'char sheyivali hazachar takdish. Any firstborn that's born, the male is sanctified. You count the year from its birth, and that's what the Gemara seems to conclude. That we're following the birth, not when it's eligible for to be brought as a korban. Yeah. So, no, that's not. That's what we're saying. We're saying that the mating season would be September, October, and they're born right before Pesach. That's the first of the time.
You never have a situation where she's born in
Oh.
But it is fully possible that either would have changed, or if it's only just the ages of
Right. Okay. The question why this halacha applies to other animals that their gestation period is 9 months, but the same times were set into place. Because it's not adjusted per the animal. It's they set the time. Okay, the next Mishnah says like this: Shalish kupais shall shalish sayin terminus alishka. And they would enter in to take out the tithe. And they would enter in to take out the truma from the coins from all the skullim that were brought in. So, what would they use to take the money out? So they had these baskets. Now each basket was 3 sa, and they would have 3 baskets. So they would go in, the bags that they use. Those guys, they drive those trucks. They go in to take those machines, drinks. Right? So they have bags and they have these crates and whatever. So in this instance, the way this was done was that they had these baskets. Each one could contain 3 sa. They would go in and they'd get 3 sa of coins. And each basket had there were 3 baskets. So Kosav Alayim Aleph Beis Gimel. Yeah, it said on the first basket Aleph, the second one Beis, the third one Gimel. Rabbi Shmuel says Yavanis Kosav Alayim. No, it was actually in Greek. Alpha, Beta, Gamma. It was the Greek letters. Probably the question was, how important was it that everyone understand? I don't know. The person that went in was not let to go in with a cuff. His clothing couldn't have a cuff in it, like a hem that coins could be dropped in. Couldn't be wearing a shoe. Could hide things in the sole. Sandal. Tefillin. Couldn't have gone in with tefillin and sneak it inside the not the bag of the tefillin into the slots where the scrolls are. They could go in with empty tefillin. You can't be wearing an amulet because the amulet was like a little pouch that contained things, and you could sneak coins into that. Shemayani. Maybe something bad will happen to this person. He'll become poor. He must have not been honest. He probably snuck coins over there. That was his punishment. Or maybe the opposite. Maybe he'll get wealthy. Yeah, we know how he got wealthy. He was taking money from the Beis Hamikdash. Person has to be careful from the opinion of people, just like he has to be careful with the opinion of Hashem. Can't have people gossip. Can't do things that will cause people to gossip about you.
It's very interesting because when you first hear it, you think it's to prevent theft. really would prevent the temptation of death. But the Gemara says, that's not what we're concerned about. We're just concerned about lust.
Right.
It's like,
Right. Right.
that's pretty heavy.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be also, well, I mean, sometimes you tell a guy, make sure that you write down your hours. And he says, what do you think? I'm a thief? He says, no, I don't think you're a thief. This is the way you're supposed to do it. Right. Okay. You have to be clean from Hashem and the Jewish people. Finds favor. What's seichel tov? Good wisdom. How do they translate seichel? Understanding. In the eyes of God and man. Okay, Taman Taninan, it was taught in another place when we're in the Gemara. That he could use 4 or 5 baskets. Reb Zira Shal as Reb Yosher. Reb Zira asked Reb Yosher, Kamu Shirin Shal Kupis, how large are those baskets that you're going to use? Amrlei, he says, well, Nilmud Sasamin and Mefurish, it doesn't say exactly, but we can learn from what it does say clearly. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. There were 3 baskets, each one was 3 saw. That's a total of 9. Shein Tisha sign. Shein Esther V'Sheva sign. Terminus Alishka. Which is 9. But then they did it 3 times because there were 3 seasons that they did this. And so that's a total of 27. Is that correct? 9 times 6. Because of Aleim Aleph Beis Gimel, and it said on Aleph Beis Gimel. Why did it say on each basket Aleph Beis Gimel? Leimar, to say Mistapik Min Rishayna or Ein Mistapik Min Rishayna Kaidim L'Shniya. No. Min Ashniya Kaidim L'Shlishis. You have to finish up the first one before you go to the next one. You go from basket to basket, you complete it. I don't know why that's so important. But guess maybe it helps keeping track of things. I don't know. Come on, Taninan. Because we said that we're going to learn something that's unclear from something that's clear, here we say that it's a total of 27 sayin of coins, so that's probably what they would have to use for the 4 or 5 baskets as well. So we learned that from here where it says it clearly. So now we're going to quote other things that it doesn't say clearly, but it says in other places clearly, so it's going to teach us about it. Someone carries on Shabbos wine. How much is considered significant? Well, the amount that you would mix into a cup. Reb Zira Shalas Reb Yeshe, Kama Shirin Shel Kais, how big is a cup? Let's learn what we don't know, what's not stated clearly, from something that is stated clearly. Reb Chia says the 4 cups that it says that you're supposed to drink on Pesach. This may be a proof that we're supposed to be a few blot ahead, not a block behind. Okay. Yeshnan Revius Shel Yayin Be'italki. They have a revius of wine in Italy. Now, this is unclear if it means Italian wine or an Italian revius. Is the Italian measurement or the Italian wine? I'm not sure. Whatever it is, it's a revius. Okay. So how much would be carrying on Shabbos? Well, we'll learn from how much wine you need to drink by the 4 cups, which is a revius. Amar Rabbi Yosi Baravin Mishum Rabbi Yechanan Rabbi Yehudahi. The Tani Mayim Kedei Gemia. What is he saying? This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that says that water, it's thought like this. Water is, how much water is considered carrying? The amount of 1 swallow. Rabbi Yehuda Kedei Lashav Bemasakila. He says that the amount of water that would be to wash off a eye salve. Let's skip the parentheses for a second. Yayin kedei gemia. Wine is also the amount of one swallow. Rabbi Yehuda says the amount that it would take to dilute in a cup to drink it. Mazug bekama. Let's say it was already diluted. How much then would it be? So we'll learn from here. Mayim kedei gemia. Water was the one swallow. Rabbi Yehuda said water was the amount to wash off the eye salve. Yain kedei gemia. Wine was to swallow. One swallowful. Rabbi Yehuda says the amount to mix in a cup. It was mixed 1 part to 3 parts, right? 1 part wine, 3 parts water. But here it says that the wine, the amount to mix, how big is a kais? Rabba namar tirtrain ravia. It's a tirtrain and a quarter. I don't know exactly what a tirtrain is, but it's a measurement that they were familiar with, which is probably a revius. The Gemara has a question about Pesach. Let's say you want to drink all the cups in one go. Whoa, this is good, and I'm thirsty. You start with Kiddush. You just drink the 4 cups down. Now, in the Bavli, it says that you're not Yaitza. In Gemara Pesachim, that you had to say it each one on its. You had to do the mitzvah with each one. Here the Gemara says, "Midam Rab Manam Rab Yasi Halalim Sham Basic Neses Yatza." If someone heard Halal and Shul, he went to a Chassidish minyan where they said Halal after Ma'ariv, not Ashkenaz. And he heard Halal after Ma'ariv, so he's Yetza Halal. He doesn't have to say it again by the Seder. Obviously, if you're not going to say Halal again after the Seder, then how are you going to do it? How are you going to do the Seder? Well, you'll have the first cup, Kiddush. You'll separate, you'll say Magid. Then you'll bench on the cup. Now, you don't have to say Halal. So you'll just drink the next one right after that. So you'll have 2 cups in a row because you were Yetza Halal already. So apparently, it doesn't need to be separated by separate things. So you can drink them all together as well. Mal l'shteisan b'piskan. What about drinking them slowly, a sip at a time? It says that they should drink and not get drunk. So also, if you drink it in sips, that's also yaitz. Mal latzis biyain shel shviyas. Are you yaitz if you use wine of Shemitah? I'm not sure exactly what the Gemara's question is. Maybe it's not considered yours. And if the matzah needs to be yours, maybe the 4 cups need to be yours. You are yaitzer. You're yaitzer if the wine is Shemitah wine. That's what's it called? What's the heter that they use with the Israeli wines? Shemitah. It says on the bottles on the Israeli wine. Eitzer Bezdin. They're allowed to use the Shemitah wines. Mal latis bekonditin. What about spiced wine? They would put herbs and stuff in the wine. We get all spiced. Midatani bar kapara konditin keyayin. Because bar kapara says that konditin is like wine. Adamra yetz beyayin konditin. Yeah, you can do the 4 cups with konditin. I think there was a bottle of wine. Okay, start. Mini starts at 6:30 exactly. Oh, okay. So, okay. Let me just go 2 more lines. Mal latis biyayin mezugin. What about wine that's mixed? Midatani rabchia about kasham yitzim bein chay and bein mezugin b'vad shiyeh betam tam umariyayin. As long as it has the flavor and the appearance of wine. Rabbi Yirmiyah mitzvah latis biyayin edem Shnemer Alteri Yainki Yasadim, Itim B'Kaisene, that that quotes a pasuk that what was Alteri Yainki Yasadim? What did it say? Yeah, that the wine is red. Okay, we'll leave it up there. Up to Tani. This just came in because we were learning something that it doesn't say clearly from something that it says clearly.